Hey class, so as we're entering into Unit 3, I just wanted to let you know it's one of my favorite units where we talk about entering into relationships and all the different components that go into that, especially when we get into what's called mate selection as to why we're attracted to certain people or why certain relationships form, etc. So it's kind of an interesting study in terms of analyzing things that we see every day around us. And the cool thing about this course is that it's really looking at all the diversity that we have when we recognize relationships here in Canada, especially if we're going to go based on Statistics Canada and some of the research that we found through that in terms of what those relationships are, how they're forming, and even both the positives and the negatives, the challenges that those relationships face. So as I'm going to be offline tomorrow because it's the literacy test and I'm proctoring that, I will not be online. That I just wanted to make sure that I got out a video just about the main component of Unit 3, Activity 1 that will be due by the end of the week. I realize Friday is a PA day, and so it's just important that we get this information out there. The assignments won't be due until the PA day or even into the weekend. So just make sure that you're working on the assignments that are due. So there's a discussion and two drop boxes. One that's my personal favorite in terms of looking at songs and their understanding of relationships. You might want to look to country songs. I'm not huge into country as a genre, but it certainly lends itself well to the storytelling about relationships, whether they be good or bad. So what I thought I would do is talk about this second Dropbox, or the first Dropbox actually, that is looking at an analysis of 3 articles. So here it is here on the screen. So it's under the action component of Unit 3, Activity 1. And relationships in Canada. It's asking you to read 3 articles, and it's asking you to scroll through, read all of them, and then you're going to do an article analysis, and you've already practiced this, and I'm just going to reference those in one short minute. And you're going to analyze them and then reflect on your findings and what it means. Not just on your learning in terms of how to do an article analysis, but specifically what are you learning about relationships because you have read these 3 articles. So the first one that it references is that when you're doing an article analysis, is that it's referencing Activity 6 from Unit 1, where it had you practice doing topic, main idea, and supportive details following an article, and then you did a reflection on your learning. The other thing that I want you to pay attention to is within the questions that it's asking you to answer on these, not just to summarize them and to find details, but to create questions using the better, best, good, better, best question making. So I wanted to reference that as well. That is in Unit 1, Activity 1, where we went through what are good, better, best questions. So there's 2 components here in terms of how to do a summary as well as creating questions. So I just wanted to show you quickly before I get into anything else the rubric. And it's always important to look at this to see how your instructor is evaluating and what components they're looking for specifically. So if you see here the ability to identify the topics, the main idea. So I want to see that you can identify the main idea. I want to see that you can find supportive details and facts of that main idea. Third, a personal reflection on what you're seeing about relationships within Canada. 4, that you're creating research inquiry questions or furthering questions after you've read that article. What does it make you think of? What else would you research about that topic? Or what does it make you want to question? And last but not least, using good, better, best question practices. So that's why I referenced those 2. I would actually lump these 2 together, that you're creating questions and using the good, better, best strategy. So the other thing that I wanted to show you as an option is that when we're looking at these particular articles that I'm a paper person and I'm really trying to adapt to using Google Docs. So what I would really suggest is that you download these articles so that you can interact with them. I find this interface not user friendly when I want to make meaning of a text. I can read it, but I can't interact with it as well. So I just wanted to make a suggestion for the big picture. I had put this in a video for last week that when I'm trying to make meaning of an electronic text, that I like to use Google Docs, that I can use the highlighter, which is located here. So I just highlight and then click the highlighter and make it whatever color I want. The other thing, when you've highlighted it, that you can also make a comment, which you can see here. So when I look at the strategies that I've been using here, I was trying to find the main idea and then supportive details. And then I would identify them here. So once I saw them, if you can see how far down the main idea was for me, that adult as a stage is being pushed back later in age, and I just put that as the main idea and then found supportive details that I could just click through these to find what specifically I was looking for. And then I can use these within. I highlighted and then I reworded. I identified what it was supportive details, and I reworded it so that if I was to use it in a summary paragraph, that I wouldn't have to use it word for word from the article, but I could incorporate the concepts. And then created ideas or questions from that particular one. And I included those all in the comments, and then I can see the highlighting where it comes from. I would highly recommend doing this with those articles. So I actually did it with the first one. And I just wanted to quickly show you how I did that, because this way I saved it as a PDF. That's the way that it wants to go. And then I just copied and pasted it into a Google Doc so that I can highlight it and make comments. So what I did in order to do that is I'm going to find the next article here. Actually, scroll down here. There we go. So just as an example, you can do it that way. I actually found that downloading it, or Wi-Fi is struggling here a little bit today. You can download it, save it to your desktop, Mixed unions is actually a really important issue, as we see in statistics in the most recent statistical data, and I realize I'm not copying all of that, but just for the sake of this. Statistical data shows us that mixed unions are increasing, which demonstrates that the taboo of both coming from ethnically diverse backgrounds is not a stigma anymore, and that more people are entering into mixed unions. So there I can copy and paste it. I even went back and included the title, referencing information, the author, the date that it was published, just so I had it in the article, and then you can make the title. And then from there, you're able to interact with it, to break it down and read it. You'll notice that it's all in one giant paragraph, and that I'm happy to sort of break it down so that I can read it and make meaning of it. So that's a suggestion in terms of when you've got 3 articles to read and 3 analysis to write for them, that I would highly recommend not, you can print them off as well and interact with them as paper, but if you're trying to avoid that and go with a paperless route, then Google Docs is a great option. But just remember to use these tools to reference that, to maximize the opportunity that you have in order to use the tools that we have here. So the summarizer, good, better, best questions, just as a review, and then going back, reading the questions, ensure that you look at the rubric and that you read through each question and what it's asking you to do. So good luck, and don't hesitate to ask me any questions.